The iPhone giant is trying to up its iPhone sales in one market where it lags sorely behind the leaders, and that is India. The iPhone is one of the top-selling smartphones in the world, with over 100 million units sold in the first 2 quarters of the year. But in India, very different story. Apple sold fewer than 1 million phones there in the first half of 2018. Xiaomi, on the other hand, sold 19 million. Apple has only about 1% of smartphone market share in India. Compare that with Samsung at 29%. Can Apple turn this around? To discuss, we've got Om Malik, a partner at True Ventures, and Bloomberg Tech's editor, Alistair Barr. So, Om, you spent a lot of time in India. We've talked about Apple's entry into India over the years. What did Apple do so wrong there?
I think they ignored the market for a long, long time. I wrote a piece in 2013, and I said, yeah, they're blowing it. They were nowhere to be found, and India became an Android nation.
So it was too little, too late?
It is too little, too late. I mean, right now it's just yet another luxury product, like, Tom Ford clothes, or, stuff like in that category of products, because it's so expensive for most of the people. But there is a really growing class of rich people who can afford the iPhone. Unfortunately for Apple, they actually travel overseas so much that they can buy those phones anywhere else on the planet. I think they have really blown it.
So, Alistair, does it all come down to price?
A lot of it does in India for sure, but there's also the retail strategy, which is very different in India. A lot of smaller retail stores and companies like Xiaomi, for instance, and Samsung work very, very closely and offer special incentives, and then they get special promotion in those stores. Apple has tried a version of that, but that hasn't worked very well, and the story that we published today has quite a few details on how they're going to try and change that. So the jury's out, but they're doing a major strategy revamp around there.
I know in the story we talk about these smaller retailers offering deals, holiday deals. That sounds short term. What else?
Well, the holiday deals that they're going to be providing are going to be things like special financing, but it's good they're going to run them not just on holidays, they're going to run them throughout the year. So I think there's going to be some price promotional activity for sure. But then there's special incentives that the store owners get from Apple, and those haven't worked very well, so they're going to be ramping those up. That implies over the long term that Apple is not going to make so much money in India, but that they're going to maybe go for more volume. That's a very unusual play for Apple. They like to keep their margins the same, which is fat.
Right, and the price of an iPhone is the price of an iPhone. It can only really come down so much. Is this strategy going to really help them or move the needle?
If I was to advise Apple, which I'm not, they should just go premium. They should just forget about the budget market altogether. They should create a premium experience around Apple brand, Apple stores. It should be like, position it like a luxury item.
In India?
Yes, they cannot win the market back now because there is so many options at more affordable prices. Xiaomi, as you mentioned, they just nailed it. Like, they have, Hugo Barra did such a great job there in kind of organizing the company and creating a community around the product, that people line up to buy that product because it is still affordable, but not, it's not too common. And I think they found the right sweet spot. Apple, unfortunately, when they sell like a phone for $200 or even $250, they would come across as selling their cheaper phone. So I think the option right now is to go just towards the higher end of the market.
But what's so different about Apple in India and Apple in China, where they're also price conscious, but Apple does a lot better?
There's just more rich people in China right now, like way more rich people in China who can afford. I mean, it's the same difference with the sales of LVMH in China versus India. It's exactly the same. India may be 15 years behind the spending patterns, and the economy is not as robust and as growing as, as big as China. So there's just fewer people with, who can drop $10,000 on a few things here and there.
So more broadly, now we've been talking a lot about Apple hitting $1 trillion. We saw, positive signs in wearables, for example. You have a piece out how time is on Apple's side. I mean, what do you see for the next era of Apple?
I think a lot of the Apple's future is based on the services they create, like, I think Apple Pay, Apple Music, Apple Cloud Storage, Apple Photos, all these are, services which they can actually expand upon and make more money. Plus, I think the wearables, we kind of laugh at Apple Watch, but seriously, like $5 to $8 billion a year business, which didn't exist 3 years ago, is kind of it's a shame that we actually have to laugh at it, because in any other business, in any other company, it would be a huge win. But it's such a gigantic company that they have to do outsized successes. I do think that they will be creating more products around the wrist. I definitely think they will be creating more products in your house. I think the Apple HomePod is just the beginning, and they will keep coming back in a way that you've seen this company, they don't give up that easy on product line.